Welcome viewer. It's yet another moment. We are getting to sit here this very evening to discuss matters politics. As usual, you know, the Cardinal Talk Show is a show that comes to you every Sunday night, a time that we get to delve into so much politics and more so the very recent happenings in a political landscape. Not to mention, it's just a few months to the elections, and we are getting so intense campaigns. Things are looking now very, very real. IBC just received 22 billion last week to kickstart its preparation for the 2022 general elections. All indicators, all signs, all systems is that this election is just here with us. However, it's got its own intrigues. Today, we want to get into a discussion that will give us more information just about how Kenya is setting the trend in terms of coalition politics, where we are looking at the ruling coalition of parties doing coalitions with the opposition parties, going even further to support them in their quest to replace them in government. It sounds so bizarre, however, it's happening in Kenya. And for future studies for political sciences, I think this would be a very good case study for scholars, for students in times to come. But I don't want to get so much into it. That's why I've got these two gentlemen here to come and give us more information. I want to give you time to just introduce yourselves. You're not very new faces in this program. That's why you won't get so much time to do your introductions. Let me begin on my right.
Thank you, Nick. This is Martin Ogindo, Party Leader Green Congress of Kenya, former MP Rangwe, and aspiring to be the next MP for Homa Bay Town constituency.
Great. On my left.
I'm Marco Viti, a journalist, a teacher, and currently a practicing small-time businessman.
Small-time?
Yes.
How small is small?
No, relatively small. Small is relative.
Okay,
Yes.
it's nice. A journalist, and that's why he's seated on my very left side, because, you know, journalists, we normally pride ourselves as the mirror of the society, and that is why he's on my left. Now, gentlemen, let's start. Kenya giving an example, Kenya giving a trend, Kenya actually trailblazing in what is supposed to be bizarre coalition of politics, because I've never heard of coalitions that are made by the ruling government with the opposition, going further to even endorse the opposition candidates, perhaps to go and replace them in the government. This is so funny, it's so intriguing. Just what does it portend? What does it mean? Mheshimiwa, just what is this?
Thank you, Nick. I think that's a very good place to start from. You know, political parties are created to pursue power. And power, I'm made to understand, can be very sweet. And coalitions should be built around converging interests. Interest in terms of policies and ideologies. But in Kenya today, you find that coalitions are created by everybody and for everybody. I think if you look at the history of the current Jubilee Party, you find that Jubilee Party was born largely out of KANU, which is a conservative party, nationalist party. And if you look at ODM was a social democratic party that was more of a left party. But today, they are coming together. You know, in Kenya, I think we have come to the place of pursuing power. And we've realized that in order to get power, we need to sell personality more than ideology. So if you get the right personality, the best brand in terms of person, then you can create a coalition around them and sell it to Kenyans. So that's why you find the coalitions that are being created around personalities. Call it Azimio la Umoja, call it Kenya Kwanza, and even Oka. So I think the overarching thing here is, how do you capture power? You capture power in Kenya by putting your best foot forward in terms of personality that you're marketing. On the converse, I thought we should have been putting our best foot forward in terms of the ideas that we are marketing. So that in Kenya today, I think we've got our questions in reverse. Normally you would be asked, whom are you voting for? Instead of being asked, what are you voting for? In my view, I think, what are you voting for should come first. Then the next question is, who can deliver that which you are voting for? But in our case, we are asking, whom are you voting for? And then later you ask, can he do what you wanted done? So I think we lose it there, but this is our society. All politics is local, so we do it the Kenyan way.
Well, analyzed, I think, what would you want done vis-a-vis who do you want to do it is the biggest question here. However, let's get what Makowiti has. Makowiti, how would you weigh into this? Because like Mheshimiwa says, coalitions are done on interests. And, you know, sometimes there are parties that can never come together, whatever it is. Like we know Jubilee is an offshoot of KANU. And it carried so much ideology of KANU into this government. But we find ODM or Azimio, which, like he said, has been practicing what is supposed to be social democracy in a larger extent, is getting very cozy with them. They are comfortable. I don't know, is this politics evolving?
Thank you, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you once again to sit here with my honored friend and the former MP for Rangwe and the party leader for Green Congress.
Yeah, party leader Green Congress.
Yeah, he's a director in the government. He resigned?
He resigned.
I was sacked.
Okay, he was degazetted. He was not sacked. Maybe that's a better term to look at.
Okay.
But it's a milestone. But first, I really find this a very unfair panel, Nick. Once you brought a compatriot who shares more often than not a position I will always just say yes to. So, what he has captured in terms of the explanation of how parties come together, and you said it would be very interesting for people or students of political science to study, to put Kenya as a case study. He's answered you in a very simple way, that Kenyans, it might not really be a very nice case study. Because if it were so, then the ideologies that parties stand for, that people should actually be an assembly to, would have been driving Kenyan politics.
Yeah.
But he's quickly captured it nicely, that it is the power, the personality of the people. It's the personality that people gravitate around. And you're asking, is this good for Kenya? That's where you want me to weigh in.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's not good. The fact that ODM is very cozy with Jubilee really makes ODM a deviation from the leftist position that they were created to do, and to be the conservative that KANU was, that is the current Jubilee. So there is a very thin difference between what ODM stands for right now and what KANU used to stand for then. And I don't really think it is good for Kenya.
It's not good for Kenya.
It's not good for Kenya, because now the social democracy that they stood for, the empowerment of all, is now left. And people would be wondering, why would a sitting government under a political party that is formidable running to merge, to support an opposition candidate? Yes, an opposition candidate. Maybe that is no longer an opposition candidate. Those are the details we don't delve into.
Okay, but as it is, what is very official is that ODM is an opposition party presently as it's constituted.
Yes, and you have seen, since the time that ODM became cozy with the ruling party, they stopped pursuing their opposition role. True. And Kenyans have really suffered in the process. Because the opposition party in a ruling system is supposed to provide checks and balances for the excesses of the executive. But when you become a propagator of the excesses of the executive, the people suffer. For example, enough times, petroleum was zero rated. Right. But it took the handshake and the inclusion of the ODM party MPs into the government for the tax to be introduced at 16%. Yeah. And then the outcry made it to be halved to 8%. But still, it was a levy, a very serious levy, that made the cost of living very unbearable. And even right now, people are still crying. If ODM was still a leftist and did not budge into the ruling party, they would have opposed and vetoed it in parliament. And life would have been easy. So the opposition role was lost in the merger. And so we cannot currently say that there is a check and balance for the government. Actually, if there is any, and that now might form a very interesting study scenario, is that one of the wings of the ruling party that is discontented in the process, is
now checking itself.
Exactly.
I mean, you see, just like you're bringing it, it gets even very complicated as the debate carries on, because then we are now bringing bare just why these two parts cannot really form an identity, because the petroleum bill that he says was one outcry that Kenyans felt so bad about, and everybody expected ODM to rally on the social side of Mwananchi, which was their cry. Please don't increase the taxes, because with this, life would be unbearable. Then everybody has turned a deaf ear onto that. Who cares anyway that petroleum right now, if you go to the pumps, you will be fueling at 127, 130. And nobody cares about that. Nobody's speaking about that. That is not the danger of what we say is politics. However, what can we pick as the advantages to this? The Kenyan study.
Nick, let me just weigh into that a little. Mm-hmm. I think our constitution gave us a pure presidential system. And as such, we have in parliament the majority and the minority. The word opposition has disappeared. And I think much as we need an elected party to run government, it is imperative that we have an opposition party to keep that government in check. What we have seen is akin to what we used to see during single party. And during single party, it was left to individuals to be opposition. There was no a structured opposition. It was left to individuals who didn't agree with the policies to be opposition. And today, it is coming back to that you need to be a prison of conscience to be seen to be opposition. And I think that is very bad for this country. And that is why people can now swap positions quite often. Those people who used to complain about policies that were anti-people are today in government, and those who used to insist on those policies are today outside government, and they have swapped roles, and they continue to exchange barbs against each other. I think we need to institutionalize the position of opposition in our country and in our governance system. It is important.
Just how? Because our constitution, just like you say, gives the minority that power. But then the constitution is not barring them to get into, a coalition with the ruling party. Maybe that is why you can say the constitution doesn't give, check them. But the constitution gives that, the 2010 constitution gives the minority side their specific role in parliament. Then we know the majority will always form the executive. But now, what perhaps I think you are trying to say is that the constitution did not give us a buffer zone. up to where the two can relate and get to.
I think just to buttress what Director Mheshimiwa is saying, and I totally agree with him. And he picked on this point very significantly when he was introducing the thing, that politics is personality based, not ideology based. But even the Constitution itself captures that ideology aspect of politics. That as a member of parliament sponsored or an MCA sponsored by a particular political party that stands for something, you are not allowed to propagate the ideologies of another party.
Absolutely.
So it means ideology is actually very significant in our constitution. Yeah. Now, where we are losing it is that instead of making political parties stronger, we have made individuals stronger. I want to pick a case of Homa Bay County, where we both come from with Mheshimiwa. The county assembly is 100% one party.
Yeah, it's ODM dominated.
Exactly. To an extent that they would choose a minority leader amongst themselves to fill that position.
From ODM.
Yes.
That's a paradox.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a paradox of politics.
That if, for the sake of Homa Bay,
yeah,
we would have the Green Party Congress sponsoring candidates enough within the county for the benefits of checking the MCAs, the majority in the assembly, and that would be a benefit to us. Yeah. That if Mheshimiwa here, with this ideology of the Green Congress, says that all my MCAs in the county stand for this, anytime there's a debate and there's a contrary opinion, they'd say, no, us as the minority, this is our position. Put it on record that this is what we stood for as a party. You are going against it, and what you are going to implement has got these disastrous consequences. So I think we are the ones who have been very complacent to agree that the parties we subscribe to deviate from their ideologies and then we become personality based. And that's the danger we are going to ride in for a very long time until we change.
So paradoxical in a country that prides itself as a multi-party democracy. I mean, even the word multi-party democracy here seems to be losing its all meaning, because what we are getting into, where a whole lot of a county assembly is from one party and then they choose. I mean, it's so interesting.
but Nick, I think something must not be lost here.
Yeah.
That there is completely no position. No. In presidential system, the opposition don't get the name opposition. They get the name minority. And their role is as cut out as the role of opposition. If they choose to abandon that role, well, that's a choice. And the person to judge them is the electorate. But you see, the worst part is most of the political party leaders tend to be presidential candidates. And our constitution is set up out such that if you're a presidential candidate, you have no route to parliament. So you will have to exercise your position from outside. So you are leading a troop that is inside parliament from outside. I mean, I think that's where the missing link is. We need to have a situation whereby the opposition leader finds
a special seat
place in parliament, because that is where the people's representatives are, and that is where there's classification of majority and minority. And takes me back to where I started from, because you realize that today the opposition is out here in the campaign. You will see this coalition bashing that presidential candidate and that coalition bashing this presidential candidate. When I thought it should have been this coalition bashing the policy proposals of that coalition and this coalition bashing the policy proposals of the other. And then Kenyans are able to see where are we safer. But today the question is, in whose hands are we safe? Not in whose policies are we safe.
Correct.
And I think that's where we need to take the debate.
Aptly put. In whose hands are we safe? I mean, that is the question out there for the electors to deal with, not which policies are safer for us. I think, yes, still on this and studying Kenya the way Kenya has been, we remember Uhuru Kenyatta as an opposition leader at one time again came into the government and supported Mwai Kibaki's second term. so blatantly that he left his seat as the opposition leader and then began supporting the system he was opposing. Now, what can therefore be done? Because we cannot have a trend where it will be personalities forever. Personalities are people who live and go at one time. Our politics should remain steadfast. They should be institutionalized. We should be having a politically oriented nation, not a personality oriented nation like what we have right now. It's so sorry for us and our generation in future, because what we are experiencing right now, much as it sometimes it looks so interesting, is something that would not really hold for too long for a country that wants its future guaranteed. What can we do? What can we do as a people?
There is very little that we can do at this point in time, because what this requires is civic education, political literacy, so that we understand. But that sounds academic. What happened to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, whom I was privileged to have shared parliament with, is that when he was supposed to be in the opposition, he did his opposition bit for the period that it lasted. But then his instincts for power dictated to him that he needed to inherit President Mwai Kibaki's constituency. And you inherit somebody's constituency by aligning yourself to him.
As his understudy.
As his understudy. So it was, what will make me get power in the Kenyan context? Is it being an opposition leader, or is it inheriting my predecessor's constituency? And your answer is as good as mine. So that was the strategy that he employed. But look at it where we are as a country today. And we are going for a presidential election, or a general election for that matter. The country has suffered a great deal in terms of bad policies that we would think an incoming administration should address themselves to very squarely. From the KANU days, from the late 80s to early 90s, we suffered what was called the structural adjustment programs. And these structural adjustment programs disrupted our social fabrics. Our education system today is not an education system. Right from kindergarten to university, it is trial and error. And it is completely unaffordable. Education is not affordable at any level. Is it at secondary school? Is it at the university? It is not affordable, not to mention the quality. Look at our health sector. Ever since the cost sharing came into the health sector, our health sector has never stood on their feet. You don't get medicine, you don't get personnel, everybody, doctors are always on the streets. Dispensaries are empty. Look at, they even liberalized our water. Today, water is in the hands of private companies.
The Kiwaskos
and the Nairobi Waters. Yeah. They even liberalized our transport system, that killed the railway system, that killed the bus system. And it is all chaos. And
but just as you mentioned, you're not pointing out what Kenyans would want to hear. But my worry is, are we even getting these things close to the campaigns that are running right now? Are they even factors somebody is considering right now as we go on?
You know, Nick,
just in 1 minute, because I know we should be going for a break. Yeah.
When you listen to Mheshimiwa, it becomes a very sad moment. And even into the studio here, you wonder, is what Mheshimiwa portraying outside there for the people?
Are they even aware?
Yes. But actually it's common sense, because if Kowasco is there and Kowasco whatever, people know. Right now as we talk, the nurses in Homa Bay County are on strike. It means the health sector is compromised.
Right now.
Yeah. The health sector and the health services are compromised. But it is an aspect of leadership. When drugs are not there, you've seen a lot of mushrooming of clinics around the public hospitals, because you are sent, once the prescription has been written, then the nearest clinic. Yeah. Yes. So it's a profiteering thing. Everything is in chaos. But if we would have parties that are propagating ideologies, and people decide not to elect personalities and elect parties, and the parties and instruct their members to insist on those ideologies, then legislation and implementation will actually be safer for the Kenyans. So Kenyans will not be safer in the hands of individuals, but will be safer in the hands of ideologies. And that one is, to me, is more sustainable.
In whose hands are we safe? And again, which policies are we safe in as a people?
Yeah.
These are two fundamental questions that beg a lot of discussion, just like you're trying to do right now. But then this debate should be carried out on into the public there as we continue, because these are the matters that we would have loved to hear, actually doing so many rounds in the campaign platforms and forums that we witness every single hour in this country. Too bad we're not getting these things, and that is why the Cardinal Talk Show will give you what is so cardinal about these elections, and this is what is so cardinal. We're not done yet. We are going for a short break. When we come back, we'll be continuing to just listen to these very wonderful brains here, touching pertinent issues that affect you and me in such unprecedented way. Don't go away. Welcome again, viewer. If you're joining us right now, we are still on with the Cardinal Talk Show. Just like I reminded you as we were going for this break, this is where you get the cardinal points of discussion. This is where you can separate the wheat from the chaff, the wheat from the chaff, and it remains as such. We don't do debates that just come. We do debates that actually are so incisive, and they give us, even where possible, solutions. And now we want to spring into the elections, and the primaries are coming sometimes in April 26th. Is I'm not wrong, you're a leader of a political party. Is it on the 26th of April?
It's ending on the 26th of April.
That's the end. So parties might decide that they're doing theirs in 1st of April or something like that. Even today, no problem. But at least that is the timeline. And knowing what our political parties do, they love the last minute rush, so that there is no cause for recourse and there's no way out. You must remain locked wherever it is, whether you're frustrated or not, nobody cares. But then that is our politics. Now we want to look at how the two sides, the Kenya Kwanza side and the Azimio side, are packaging their campaigns and messages. We've seen a lot of hatred sometimes being spewed by the politicians. I have seen a lot of name callings, and we witness so much non-issue campaigns that are driving this country so crazy. And apparently, these places are normally filled to the brim. You go to Kenya Kwanza, it's full. You go to Azimio, it's full. And guys go home happy after all this. I think I'm bringing in these two gentlemen here to help us understand. We still remain a very peculiar country, if you ask me, because you go to a rally, these people, under the scorching sun of like 4 or 5 hours, people will be there, and then they just leave after dancing Chwadegi Nyundo. And after Chwadegi Nyundo, everybody leaves home, and they wait for tomorrow's rally again. Just how is this thing shaping out?
Nick, I think I would want Makowiti to go first. Because
he's a journalist.
No, yeah, because he's a journalist, and because I'm a political party leader.
So you also go for Chwadegi Nyundo, and then you guys dance a bit, and people break for their homes.
Well, now before I tread onto the fire, because I want to take the chance to go first. Mheshimiwa, wewe uko Kenya Kwanza, uko Azimio, uko Oka, or you are the Green Party Congress and you stand for your ideologies?
This dichotomy, this duopoly of politics whereby you have to fit either here or there, is what is undermining our democratic space. And The question should be, what do you think?
Not okay.
Which side are you?
No, but it's not bad to know which side you are, because I mean, you're a leader, you're accountable to people, people would want to follow you. Just where are you?
I mean, that's where I started from by saying it reduces the question to personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now let me
We
go
need to
fast.
get away from that.
Now let me go
Okay.
fast.
Thank you very much for. Now you say a journalist is supposed to be a journalist. He brought what is supposed to be answered. Now, you are either running as a Green Congress Party of Kenya and you're not aligning as of now, or perhaps you are waiting to do a coalition after elections. There's always an arrangement for political parties. You can have a pre or a post coalition arrangement. As a Green Congress Party of Kenya, it's important that we get to know where you are leaning right now, because people are taking sides.
Without Marco Wete losing his thought process on his question, I can deal with that very, very precisely. I am the party leader of Green Congress of Kenya. And as a party, we seek to form government. We have three options. One is to go as Green Congress of Kenya. We field candidates as a party. That is within our constitutional and statutory rights. Number two, we have an option of being part of a coalition, in the traditional sense of the word coalition. And that is an option that is open to us, but we still have time to figure out which coalition we can fit into. Number three, with the new amendment of the Political Parties Act, we have an option of being part of a coalition political party. And one of them that is still being talked about is the Azimio la Umoja.
It's already registered now.
When was it registered?
This week.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a party.
You know, you register that a coalition political party, you register it by having political parties that subscribe to it as the members that you register it with. I'm not sure if that stage is.
Yeah, I think from the registrar, we have that one registered.
Maybe they're just spaces that you go and fill yours.
Yeah, maybe there's spaces now to add more.
Okay. People curious.
So, as far as the Green Congress Party is concerned, we want to see which party is espousing the policies that we subscribe to. And in my speech here, you've heard my inclination. And I wish to add that we're also keen on the sustainability of this economy of ours in Kenya and even globally. So we are very particular on who are sensitive to the environment in terms of sustainability and in terms of policies that are put in place to reduce the global warming, which is threatening the entire human race. And I think that is a fundamental issue. So we still have time up to the 9th of April. When these coalitions are being closed.
Cobbled together, yeah.
And you need to get people that you can work with and work well.
Oh, great. Now it's now clear. Now it's clear. Back to you now.
Okay. So I don't want to lose the keywords that you use, and I think Mheshimiwa has captured them also very well in his presentation of the Green Congress Party ideology. There is always drama that's going around Chwadenyundo and all that, and also the political correctness.
Okay. Yeah.
So these are landmines.
Yeah.
For anyone that has got, if you have a pure ideology, like the Green Congress Party leader, Mheshimiwa Ogino here, and you are still not politically correct, then the wave might still sweep you, and that is very dangerous. I want our people to listen to the ideologies of these parties. Let someone still campaign with the social democrat ideals of ODM. When you are going to present yourself as an ODM candidate, please talk about what ODM stands for. That is never heard. Actually, people talk about vote for Raila. Wakati huu, Raila the fifth. So that is the campaign slogan. But people have forgotten about what ODM, first of all, stands for. Because that's what's going to give ODM the vote. And if I was where someone is campaigning for the ODM candidate, and I am a contender in the Green Party Congress, and I sell the ideologies that I'm going to do under the Green Party, if that person is not using Raila's name, I will beat him. Because, not that the Green Party Congress has got better ideologies than ODM, but it's because the candidate is not selling the ideologies of ODM. That's where we lose it. But the drama and the songs are about Raila the fifth, and about myself as a candidate who's going to contest under ODM, and that's the end of the story. They always run through the scripts of what they're going to do, but they don't know whether we don't know whether that's what they're going to do, because history has never vindicated any leader under the political setup that has really stood up to their manifesto and said, I promised this, this and this in my first 5-year terms. I did this and this. I didn't do this and this because of ABCD, and I want the second term to go and complete this and this and this. That requires a sober environment. In our politics, where there's Chwadigi Junior and all that, what do people do? They just dance themselves out. It's full of drama and entertainment, and it always has got all the crowd. Because unfortunately, these crowds either have been hired and they're earning something out of it, or they were lazing around and there is no economic loss in terms of time spent in those rallies. And that's very unfortunate. It's happening in the Azimio La Umoja campaigns. It's happening in Kenya Kwanza. Because even that Kenya Kwanza thing, what do they stand for? Kenya Kwanza in what aspect? A lot of them have been condemned with, they have a lot of burdens. Allegations of golden bag, allegations of maize. So is it Kenya Kwanza in the field of allegations? Is it Kenya Kwanza in the field of, in whose hands are we safe? You know? So I don't think they're doing the right thing, but they're picking the right momentum in terms of euphoria and lies to the people that if people don't tell them, oh, stop, tell us what you're going to do and what your manifesto, and did we help you generate this manifesto as the owners of your power, because politics is always very local. If people don't do that, then after election they'll start crying as they always do.
So what you're telling me is that these rallies and these political meetings are not bringing out information necessary for the electorates. What they're trying to do is to whip them into some frenzy of sorts,
yes,
so that people get hysterical about music, about how they are dressed,
and then the fifth,
and then people walk back home.
Yes.
Unfortunately. What do you see packaging this? I don't know.
I think it is a strategy that is working very well for many political parties and even coalitions. That all you need to do is to get SUV with a roof, and then you drive into a marketplace where people are, and by that you will attract ready audience, and you start speaking with them. And because they did not invite you, you did not give them notice, they will just listen to whatever you are saying. But I think in the best way forward, if Kenyans who are seeking leadership positions are keen on changing the lives of Kenyans, then you need to structure engagement. You need to structure engagement because Kenyans are at different levels and of different needs. The structured engagement should address different people at different times. We have the youth who are unemployed. They will want to listen to your policy proposition, how your government is going to address the issue of unemployment. It is easy to say that you're going to create jobs, but what your audience would want to hear is how. So how cannot be answered in a rally.
Never.
how can only be answered in a town hall meeting where people who have suffered the brunt of unemployment are sitting, and they will tell you what they have tried and failed, and you will tell them how they need to do it better. If that kind of structure can be arranged, then we can take Kenya forward. But you see, we all want it cheap, we all want it fast. And that is why we bring everybody together, and in order to work them up, you play a song and take the song to the climax, and the meeting is at a climax before the message is delivered.
Yeah. And it's over.
And you get away, with a policy proposal that you make before it is interrogated. And I think it is imperative that the policy propositions that are being made are scrutinized and are interrogated. And that is where we should make the decision of voting. Because what we are voting for, not who we are voting for, should manifest itself in the next 5 years. That this is what we really voted for. And it should be clear, we should know what we are voting for. So that if you're a young man who is going to school, you should know what you're voting for. If you're a single mother, you should know what you're voting for. If you are an elderly, you should know what you're voting for. And this should be captured in the manifesto of a political party. I know we are overburdened, like I said, Nick. The Kenyan citizenry is overburdened because of the policy mismanagement that we have seen in the past. And if you look at the statistics, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics will tell you that the people living below poverty line have increased to about 58%. That's very high. So your policy proposal should be able to deal with this issue.
Mheshimiwa, just to make it more clear, when people live below poverty line, that's when your ability to spend on a daily basis is how much?
Below
$1 a day.
Below $1 a day. Below 100 shillings a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words,
like this person can't afford 100 shillings anywhere.
58 people out of 100 Kenyans cannot afford 100 shillings daily.
That's like,
put it simply, like
right.
that.
28 million Kenyans.
Yeah. 28 million Kenyans.
That is not.
And if these 28 million Kenyans are going to vote, then they should vote knowing that you're going to move them away from that situation. And you move them away from that situation according to the policy proposal that you're making, which must make sense to them. And you make it in a place that they can interrogate it, and you answer questions around that policy that you're proposing. And I think if we are to go that way, it stays far. Because, you know, we are all burdened by our daily needs as a society. People are thinking, where do I get water? Where do I get medicine? How do I take my child to school? So until you seclude me and address me specifically, I will not listen. I will not be able to pick sense out of the singing rally. You cannot pick sense out of the singing rally. True. So what people do there is to answer their curiosity question. Who is this? And who is that? Oh, you mean that is so-and-so.
Some even just come to see the leaders.
They just come to see them. Most of them, 90% of them.
In fact, to reinforce what Mheshimiwa is saying, and very sadly so, the burden of on Kenyans. You saw the report on the just concluded voter registration. IBC opened a window the first time. Less than 25% of the target registered actually.
put it simply, summarily, IBC expected 6 million Kenyans to register as voters in both windows.
Yes.
In both windows,
Yes.
because the first attempt actually failed dismally.
Yeah.
The second one did even worse.
Yes.
What IBC has managed to get is around 1.4, 1.6 million
Over potential 6.
over potential 6 million.
Do you know? Instead of the Kenyan leaders going to the cameras and telling Kenyans that we are sorry, you don't trust our leadership, that's why you're not interested in electing us. We want to apologize. We want to tell you we are going to do things differently. Because that's actually what's happening. The voter apathy is not because Kenyans don't want to register or don't want to participate in a political process.
They don't see why.
They don't see why. Because of the burdens they're living in, that Mheshimiwa is saying.
Okay, aptly put. Just because of time, maybe I'd love to rush to some comparative information about. There is this social protection policy that Azimio brings about the 6,000 thing, and then there is the Kenya Kwanza side that keeps talking about we've been giving out 2 billion for youth. Now this time around is gonna be 50 billion. Kwa mtu ya bodaboda, kwa mtu ya mtu sukuma wiki, kwa mtu ya nini. Then the other side says now, if you don't have food, you don't have any income, your household will be receiving 6,000 from Baba, and that is guaranteed.
Baba Care.
Baba Care is on the healthcare now.
Okay,
yeah. Now, is this? I just don't know. Is this information not well put, or is this an exaggerated information? Is this just hypothetical that these things would be thought and spoken about? Because I want to know this. These are the things that people are now selling out here. In fact, the two campaigns are bringing this one so strongly as a means of enticing voters. Seems our voters want money. They don't even want any other thing. It's about money. Who can give me money? Who can give me more?
Yeah. Let me talk
in the next 2 minutes or so. Yeah.
Because a landmine for my friend who's a party leader can associate with any of the of the coalitions. They are all good things, right? They are all good things. The 6,000 a month for families that are extremely disadvantaged, and you've seen their numbers from what Mheshimiwa has said.
Is it even thinkable? I don't know. From the statistics you're speaking about, and imagining that you'll be giving 6,000 to such
yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's more than the 50 billion.
Yeah.
That even the
is about
Kwanza.
Yeah, it's about 110,000. It's 110 billion annually.
Our economy already is so overburdened with debt that we are even paying salaries using debt, borrowed money. It is really, I don't want to say they won't be able to do it, but Baba alisema yeye anajua penye pesa iko. But we must know that it will be very costly on the Kenyans. That's one. On the Kenya Kwanza side, you know, they've also made it so dangerous that the 50 billion that they are proposing to put, they have factored it in the current budget.
Yes. This budget that is yet to be read now.
Yes, they want it to be passed. And if anyone shoots it down, then that person has no interest of Kenyans at heart.
Yeah, I saw there's a bait like that somewhere.
It's a bait.
Yeah.
So, because they say this budget is going to be implemented by the new government, and it is us who are going to implement it, and this is our flagship. So, if they were realistic, I think it is a good thing for Kenyans. But I also want to caution Kenyans. Even if you are being given 6,000 a month because you are badly off, think about what you are doing, because we don't also want to encourage a culture of dependency. If you know it is 6,000, then it should also come out clear, and I think the government will make it as a policy. It is after how long? And in the meantime, what are they doing to win you out of the 6,000 and make you self-productive? That's one. Two, these two wings, and I want Kenyans to look at this very seriously. The Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio la Umoja wings must be looked at as a contest, as a game. It should be friendly fire. And we should be friends after this. Because I don't see a scenario where any of the coalitions is going to command a majority in the houses, right? We might end up with a polluted environment, yet Kenya Kwanza will have enough members of parliament to shoot down any proposal that Azimio wants to implement for the people. Azimio also might have enough numbers to shoot down what Kenya Kwanza wants to implement for the people. So as we go into all this euphoria and all that, as we campaign towards elections, we must still remember that Kenya is one, and each partner fight, contest, but remember to bury this hatchet quickly, because chances that they will share this house on a 50-50 basis are very high. What I don't know is where the head of the executive will come from.
Well, Mheshimiwa, we are out of time completely. I don't know if I grant you 1 minute would be enough, but in conclusion, just in conclusion.
1 minute. And I just don't want to fit in the straitjacket that you're putting me into, because I'm also a party leader. So I say what we are thinking as a party. I think what the country needs is to move away from this merchandising way of doing business. Kenya likes, most of our leaders are in the merchandising business, buying and selling. And I think that is what has killed our economy. We need to have a more productive economy. You know, our sugar industry is dead. We need to revitalize our sugar industry through subsidization, so that we can have farmers engaged and produce our sugar, create employment. We were going to benefit two categories of people, the farmers and the people employed, and even the people in the business. When it comes to the propositions that are being made, you know, when you increase the supply side of the economy without a corresponding demand side, then you create a glut. If you have so many pickies, borders, and there are no customers, then that sector dies. When you go to the 6,000, it's good. But what is the math? With 28 million Kenyans living below poverty line, divide that by 5, that is about 5 million families. Multiply by 6,000, that is 30 billion per month. Multiply by 12, that is 360 billion
annually.
That is about a very big fraction of the budget.
Almost a quarter of the budget.
And I know it can be done, because our budget is bloated with a lot of expenditure items that have been personalized. As Green Congress of Kenya, we have been advocating for a zero-based budget. We need to start our budget of the Republic of Kenya afresh, so that every expenditure item getting into our budget, we should know what it is going to do. What we have today are people who own expenditure budget lines in the budget, and they protect them. If you want to do something new, you have to come with your own budget line. And I think we need brave people to tackle that issue. Until we do a zero-based budget, we will never get out of this morass.
Well. I told you, this is where you get very sober debate, so incisive, so educative. These are pinpoint factors that actually affect you and me so directly that if you take them into account in every aspect of our life, then we can find solutions to our problems as a country. It's not gainsaying that right now is a political season. Are you even hearing things like this from the politicians? If you aren't hearing things like this from them, then my friend, you are still being treated to some raw deal. In the next 5 years, perhaps we might be in the same position, talking about the same things, and then it becomes a game of musical chairs and an inherent endless problems and frustrations for our population. I want to say thank you so much, you guys, for having found time. You've been here sometimes earlier. Again, you're here today, and I know you won't even stop coming when we request that you come. Please find in yourselves some space and time to always be with us here for this kind of debates. It's so nice. Thank you, Sana Mheshimiwa. Thank you, Sana, my colleague in the scribe industry. You know, you're a member of the Fourth Estate, you know these things. And thank you for even helping me ask Mheshimiwa some questions that they were actually made him not very comfortable. But all the same, journalists are journalists, and that is what it is. Thank you very much, the viewer. It's been nice having you along, and I hope next week again we shall sit here doing the same thing until we get it right. Welcome next week.
Thank you.